Near mint condition, the home of collected editions. Oh my gosh, look at that panel of Batman. You have the absolute, you have the deluxe. DC Comics firing on all cylinders. How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. Join me today for my overview of the latest printing of Batman Knightfall Omnibus Volume 3, Knightsend from DC Comics. Or how Batman got his groove back. Or I guess how Bruce Wayne got his mojo back. Anyway, join me. Welcome back, everybody. So what we're looking at here is the 2025 printing of Batman Knightfall Omnibus Volume 3, this one dubbed Knightsend. What we're looking at here is a cover by Kelly Jones. He's the one that did the dust jacket design for all three of the Knightfall Omnis. DC logo coming in with its bullet logo right there. And then the spine of the book, Batman Knightfall Omnibus Volume 3, Knightsend, the DC logo. Then we have Nightwing and Robin and Catwoman and the T-Rex, who also joins No, just kidding, he does not. That's the T-Rex from the Batcave. The Battle of the Batman. A little bit about what this is, what's collected in here, and the ISBN. Retail price is $100. This has been previously printed before, back in 2018, so I will be doing a comparison. Right now, what I can see is just the actual colors. It looks a little bit lighter over here than over here. You can see in the skin tone of Batman's face. The book is also thicker than the new printing. Now, that both has to do with the way that it's bound. There's still some binding, it just has less glue, if you will, and also the paper stock it's using. It is using glossy paper stock, but not as thick as it used to be. And I mean that's for both Marvel and DC. So as you can see by the thickness here, Robin's arm is right there, while over here it's just his elbow. And then the back of the book right here. And retail price of this one, $99.99. The price of the new printing, $100. Inflation, man. It'll get you every time. The dust jacket flaps, the men who reimagined the Bat, the bio on Doug Moench, Chuck Dixon, Alan Grant, Dennis O'Neil, Graham Nolan, and Mike Manley right there. And then, let's look underneath the dust jacket here. So it is the image, textless image that Kelly Jones did. It's the same thing as you get over here. So what we're going to do, you just get a little bit more of the artwork here than you do over here, because again, this is slimmer. We're going to crack this book open and talk about the stories found in here, and then of course do a quick comparison to the original printing. Alright, let's go ahead and get this Omni opened. Here's your end sheet right there. I love the fact that we have As-Bat right there, and we've got classic Batman right there with his new costume at that. And this piece by Kelly Jones, Batman Knightfall Omnibus Volume 3, Knightsend. Here are all the credits, including the writers like Doug Moench, Alan Grant, Chuck Dixon, Joe Duffy, and Dennis O'Neil. And then pencilers like Mike Manley, Brett Blevins, Graham Nolan, Tom Grumet, Barry Kitson, and Phil Jimenez, Kelly Jones. And inkers over here like Dick Giordano and Joe Rubenstein, as well as Eduardo Barreto and John Beatty. Colorists like Adrian Roy and David Hornung. And letterers like Ken Bruzenak and Todd Klein, just to name a few. I really enjoyed this introduction. I'm not sure, I don't really hear a lot of people in my comments talk about introductions and afterwards, but to me they're part of the experience of these collected editions. I love looking at the behind the scenes on editors that worked on the books, or just from a fan's perspective. I really like this introduction that talks about every generation has a Batman in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. And it's true, right? This is written by Jordan B. Gorfinkel. And I love, at the very end, he writes, every generation has its Batman. For me, they're named Denny, Alan, Doug, and Chuck. Man, that hit. That was a lot of my childhood, was Alan Grant, Doug Mensch, Chuck Dixon. And I'm so sorry, who was the other person? Alan Grant, Doug Mensch. Oh, Dennis O'Neil, of course. Dennis O'Neil coming back for this era, which is just crazy to think about. Because when people think of the 90s, they think over-the-top, extreme costumes. Yeah, pretty close, but there's a lot of good in here. Oh, Prodigal, to me, is one of the greatest Batman stories. Top 3 best Batman stories. So, before I jump ahead, let's talk about what's collected in here. Collected in here is Batman 509 to 510, 512 to 515, Shadow of the Bat 29 and 30, 32 through 35, Detective Comics 676 to 677, 679 to 682, Robin 8 and 9, and then 11 through 14, Catwoman 12 and 13, Batman Legends of the Dark Knight 62 and 63, Showcase 1994 issue number 10, Nightwing Alfred's Return number 1, and Batman Vengeance of Bane number 2, kind of bringing it all together. This book has a total of 896 pages and retails for $100. All right, so look, I can't do this justice without saying spoilers. So, spoilers. Oh, and by the way, I'm sure a lot of people are asking, wait a second, what about those missing issues? Those missing issues are tied into the 0 Hour stories, and it's when a bunch of the characters from the past come into present day. I can completely understand why they didn't include them in here. It would kind of break the flow of the storytelling. I don't know if, like, in modern times, in today's day, if they would add them or not, but I did want to make sure that people knew there is a trade paperback called Batman 0 Hour, and I'm sure it'll be a part of the DC Finest whenever they get to that era. So, previously on Batman, we had Bane break Bruce Wayne's back. So, he left this new guy in charge by the name of Jean-Paul Valley, who's all part of the St. Dumas Act, and was also part of using the system, if you will. And kind of having visions of saints and things like that. A little bit crazy, but not really when Bruce Wayne left. He kind of left him like, okay, I can handle this. And Bruce is like, cool, I'm going to go get my back healed. Alfred went with him. And then eventually Alfred just had enough of Bruce trying to heal. He was like, I'm going to go do my own thing. And we'll find out where Alfred is during this adventure. Now, towards the end of Night Quest, which is kind of like the second arc, which is collected in Omnibus Volume 2, we started to see Bruce Wayne heal. And it was a slow process, and finally he's able to walk again. Sharon, unfortunately, gets kind of she gets the short end of the stick, honestly. She kind of becomes one of these forgotten characters. But he's back, and he wants to take the cowl back. By the end of Jean-Paul's journey at the end of the second omnibus, he is going completely crazy and about to kill Robin, Tim Drake, during this time, and just kind of wants to take over Gotham in his own style. He wants to protect Gotham his way, and his way is he's okay with murder, even though it's unintentional. And he has redone the entire Batsuit to make it look like this right here. Almost completely unrecognizable if you're a Batman fan and we're coming back into comics during this time. So during this time, yes, he is losing it. He's having more and more visions of his father, more and more visions of the saints. Like this is St. Dumas right here. By order of St. Dumas, they telling him what to do to go out there. And he does find out through this first few chapters that perhaps the man responsible for the death of his father, Carlton Leha, is still alive out there. So he's going to go and find him no matter what. That's one part of the journey. The other part of the journey is Bruce Wayne getting his mojo back, as I call this so stupid. Sorry, we just watched Austin Powers 2 and Spy Who Shagged Me? Is that what the second one? Doesn't matter. With the whole family, and my kids had never seen it. I'm like, I love this movie. It's so funny. It's actually pretty genius. So, Lady Shiva, an assassin, decides to help Bruce Wayne. But in order to help him, she... Man, this is really slick. She kills this master. By the way, this is one of the most hokiest lines. I don't care. It's freaking awesome, though. Bear witness to our unarmed bat, our combat. He's got no arms. So Lady Shiva kills this master and then tells the master's students that the person responsible was wearing a bat mask. So the assassins are now going after Batman. And that's part of his like trial by fire, if you will, see if he's ready. He has to take down each and every assassin that comes after him, and has to do it with non-lethal force up until he gets to a certain point where she's like, you have to kill. One of the coolest things, and I mean the coolest things, that happens at the beginning of this that restored a lot of faith to us, people that were just reading Batman at the time, is the introduction or reintroduction to the Bat family of Nightwing. He finally asks Nightwing, Dick Grayson, to come home because he needs help. While he is out there healing, while he's training, while he's trying to take care of these assassins, Dick Grayson and Robin Tim Drake have to go out there and keep an eye on Jean-Paul Valley, make sure he's not doing anything too crazy and kind of put a stop to things, but also kind of help him out too in a way, while he's out there trying to stop assassins that are coming for him. It actually works. I love this part right here because we haven't seen Dick Grayson in a while. As a matter of fact, really, the last time we saw Dick Grayson in the Batcave was during the Jim Starlin storyline, where he was kind of confronting Bruce about the death of Jason Todd. And this is coming back home to him. And he's like, who the hell's Harold? And Harold's been around for a while since Dick has been gone. So Dick Grayson realizes that this doesn't feel like home anymore. I love that. Like, it's small little character details like that that I enjoy about this story. You know, Knightfall, there are people that absolutely hate it, and there are people that hate it that haven't even read it because they just think, oh, it's the 90s, it's the Clone Saga, it's Onslaught, some jerk online tells you it sucks. I always say judge it for yourself. I'm not a fan of Onslaught, but there are plenty of my viewers that love it, and more power to them. Love what you love is all I say. Okay, so, of course we know where this is going to end. By the way, this is a killer Mike Mignola cover. That is awesome. So we have these assassins that are trying to get revenge for their dead master. They're blaming Bruce Wayne. We have Asbat going freaking crazy in Gotham, trying to put us, like, trying to find this guy that everybody's like, I think he's dead. Carlton Lea's dead. And he's like, no, I had visions. I know he's alive. And then we've got this amazing chemistry of Dick Grayson and Tim Drake working together. And man, it just all works. There's a moment here where they think that he's killed one of the assassins. And of course, this is Bruce Wayne, right? I'll let you find out exactly how he deals with that. We have Catwoman with these two issues that there's an aftermath issue, and then there's an issue here that actually ties heavily in with the storyline that these two characters are about to fight. And it happens towards the very end of the story here, where Batman's like, nah, I can't. We settle this here and now. So Bruce Wayne, back in his Batman outfit, is going after Asbat to claim his mantle back, to take the cowl of Batman back from Jean-Paul Valley, because he realizes it was a mistake. So now we've got this huge fight between these goons that Asbat's been going after, and Robin and Nightwing and Catwoman getting involved, and then we have this huge fight between Batman and Asbat. Now, something interesting does happen here where Asbat kind of blows up and falls into the water, and when he comes out of the water, he has a red outfit. I don't think that was ever really truly explained how that happened. Comic book science, though. But if you know, let me know in the comments down below, because you get a no prize. And of course, we know where this is going to end. We know that Bruce Wayne will eventually get the title back of Batman. We know that sales were dropping, so we need a Bruce Wayne back. And I think he does it in a unique way. I don't know what people were expecting. I love the fact that we take the fight back to the mansion, where it kind of all started when Bane broke his back. Speaking of Bane, I love the fact that we get a little cameo of Bane. We haven't seen Bane since, like, Knightfall 1. But we get a little cameo of him just in a jail cell saying, Murcielago, Murcielago. Like, he's just screaming and he's saying he's back. And, of course, it's foreshadowing the return of Bruce Wayne. But, yes, eventually, Bruce Wayne becomes Batman again. And let's Jean-Paul Valley go, and we're going to see the aftermath here in a second. So let's actually talk about the aftermath. So we have a Robin aftermath, and this ties more with Tim Drake during his time and his dad and his own problems with this girl at school. What is her name? Ariana, I think? Was that her name? I think that was her name. Man, he was on and off with her before, and then Stephanie, of course, came into the picture. And then we see him kind of reconnect with Batman to see, like, you know, how they work together again. We got Commissioner Gordon thinking, should I trust this guy? You know, I've trusted him before. I don't know. Then we have the Catwoman tie-in that actually has a lot more to do with Catwoman and less with this, but it makes sense to add it into the book. We get this wonderful addition right here. This shows you where John Paul Valley is after the big fight with Batman. He's actually out on the streets. He's homeless and just is completely lost, doesn't know what to do. But it won't be the last that we'll see of him. He will be back. And then we get, to me, top 3 best Batman stories ever, and that is Prodigal. This was released in trade paperback as well as Knightfall. I think Troika was too. But this one, man, it was out of print. It was going for a lot of money. And I'm just so glad now it's part of an omnibus. And, I'm going to go ahead and say spoilers for this, for Prodigal, by the way, because there are moments in here that I cannot not talk about. So, Prodigal is kind of like the editors, it's the writers saying, okay, we did a red herring. We fooled everybody into thinking that we were going to keep Jean Paul Valley as Batman, but we knew, and they probably all knew too, the fans, that it wasn't always going to be. So why don't we have a story where we do the right thing, where we give the cowl, the mantle of the bat, to the person that should have gotten it. And that is, of course, Dick Grayson. So Bruce, at the very beginning of the story, has to leave Gotham and leaves Dick Grayson in charge. So, for the first time ever, we have this chemistry of Dick Grayson and Tim Drake, Batman and Robin working together. Now, we've seen Dick Grayson as Batman later on, like, full-time, after the whole Batman R.I.P. story. And at that time, though, it was Damian Wayne that was Batman. But here we see this wonderful dynamic duo. Man, I love this. This, to me, was just everything done right. Like, all the bad things they did in the... Maybe I didn't have a problem with Knightfall. It's mainly Knightsend, or Knight's Quest went on too long. They fixed here. So the first fight is against the Killer Croc. Again, Commissioner Gordon during this time, talking to Sarah, like, just confiding in her that, you know, should I trust Batman again? I feel like he left me before, and now he's kind of left me behind with somebody else that pretends to be Batman. And there's a lot more of that in there. The second story in here is with Scarface and the Puppet Master. And then, of course, Two-Face. Two-Face has to come into this picture. This is some Lee Weeks art. It's the Ratcatcher story. Some early Phil Jimenez artwork in here in this Robin issue. But Two-Face is such a strong and powerful, important character to both Tim Drake and Dick Grayson that it makes sense to have him be the villain through here. Then we have Robin kind of doing his own thing, doing his own private detective work, going after this creature known as Steeljaw. And it's just both of them going on adventures together while trying to, you know, keep that spirit of the bat alive while while Bruce Wayne is out. And then, of course, eventually, Bruce Wayne will come back. Now, this is foreshadowing something that will happen a little bit later with KG Beast, because KG Beast will play an important part later on. But yeah, Prodigal goes on for a while. We have the rematch with the Tolly Man here that last fought Jean Paul Valley during the Knightfall event. We get a recap, in case you're not familiar, where Dick Grayson has been. Like, if you're like, wait a second, why didn't this guy take over the mantle? He was Robin. Well, he was doing his own thing. He was Nightwing in the Teen Titans. And eventually, both of these stories were Steel Jacket. That's the character's name, not Steeljaw. Where Robin is going after Steel Jacket, and you have Bruce Wayne coming back to have it's kind of like a one-on-one therapy session between these two grown men, and I'm all here for it. You've got Dick Grayson finally saying everything that he's been holding back, and Bruce Wayne kind of nonchalantly going, yeah, I know, and kind of taking verbal abuse. I love this, man. This is... this reminds me so much of the chemistry between my dad and I in my 20s. Like... oh, damn, this is some good writing, man. Like, you've got Dick Grayson here saying, I would have died for you if you asked me to. And then you've got Bruce Wayne saying, I never would have asked you to do that. So it's like this whole dynamic between both of them, how they fell apart, how Dick left him, and he feels like that's the reason why he never asked him to carry on the legacy. He feels like perhaps Bruce is angry with him for letting him go and join the Teen Titans and become Nightwing. And then, of course, he gets in his face about leaving Jean-Paul Valley in charge. He's like, that is irresponsible. How could you do that? And then we get to this moment right here. I think this has to be one of my favorite pages of any Batman comic. And again, spoilers, but it is just everything you need to know about Dick Grayson and the relationship he has with Bruce Wayne is all in this page right here. It's Bruce just coming clean and saying he's not good with emotions. And he's talking about how Dick Grayson he's reached this age where you couldn't be the Boy Wonder anymore. And the distance that grew between them. And there were a lot of things unsaid because that's just who he is. He's always been bad at that. And he handled it wrong. And I love that he owns up to the fact that he handled it wrong. And then he says, but that's the way it always is, isn't it? And Dick Grayson's like, I don't know what you mean. The way what always is. And he says, between fathers and sons. Oh, that still hits. I just shared that page. I was rereading it the other night with my wife. I love that. That summarizes everything I love about both of those characters. But yeah, eventually Batman does come back. Or Bruce Wayne comes back as Batman. And we have a new costume and a new artist. So Kelly Jones, the cover artist during Knightfall, and the guy that did the dust jackets for these books, comes in as the ongoing artist with Doug Minch writing some of the stories in here. It's the return of the KG Beast. And now we have a Batman and Robin dynamic again. Batman's costume at first was a little confusing to me because I didn't really see the designs of it. But yes, now they got rid of the underwear on the outside is what they did. And it's like a black costume, kind of like the way maybe the movie costume was in the '89 movie. But anyway, it's this fight with the KG Beast. And then, where does Nightwing go? Well, Nightwing goes off to try to find Alfred to say, hey, everything's good again. Bruce is Batman. Gotham is all good. You should come back home. But Alfred's like, nah, I found an old flame. And guess what? I've got a son. Maybe. Yeah. Poor Alfred. Yes, this is the return of Alfred. So Dick Grayson, again, this shows the relationship between him and Alfred. That chemistry that works like none other. Oh, I love this story too. So they go on a secret mission because Alfred's son, quote unquote, is in some trouble with some gangs. And then what wraps up this series, because it makes perfect sense to wrap it up with this, is Vengeance of Bane 2, The Redemption. So this is the story where we finally get to see Bane, what he's been up to. He is still in prison. He's still serving time. But what do they mean by the redemption? And are we going to see Batman and Robin show up through here? Maybe. This is all done by the exact same team that gave us the first Vengeance of Bane. So the creators of Bane, Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan, Eduardo Barreto, Adrian Roy, Bill Oakley. And it shows what he's been up to, and there's a fight with the KG Beast while he's in prison. And then the back of the book. Not a lot of extras, but some. Let's see here. We have an afterword by Darren J. Vincenzo. And then we have variant covers here. The connecting covers. I remember this cover. This was showcasing his new outfit. House ads. And then original art. Kelly Jones. And then your end sheets. So let's look at the binding and then a quick comparison. 896 pages. Sewn binding. Not a big eye at all. So how does it lay over? Actually, let's I think there was the house ad back here. No, the connecting cover, that's what I want to look at. So we do have some gutter loss, and it does have some excess glue. The paper stock is not as thick as the original printing, which I'm going to do a comparison here in a second. It does lay over pretty well, though, for something that has a eye like that. For a book that has an eye like that, it lays over pretty damn well. And don't get me wrong, the paper stock is not like super thin or anything. It's just not as thick as it used to be. But then again, nobody really publishes glossy paper stock the way they used to. So let's do a quick comparison. All right, we have the 2018 printing here on the left and the new printing on the right. And yes, the paper stock is thick over here. And this one is still glossy though, just not as thick. And even though this is thick, you're still getting bleed through happening from the other side, as well as over here. It's a little more prominent, of course, over here, but this isn't perfect, right? Like, it's not like you're not getting any kind of bleed through. You're still getting some. The colors, actually, the colors seem pretty similar. Like, I don't hardly see any kind of difference in the colors. Like, it's not more vibrant or anything. So what I want to do is compare a double page spread, where over here you don't really have any gutter loss. Over here you have just minimal gutter loss, not very much at all. But that is it, back in print, wrapping up the Knightfall era. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if you have the original printing and you are keeping it. You like to have the consistency of the DC spines matching. Then again, the bullet logo is introduced with this volume, not the previous two, so I'm not sure what some people are going to do. Regardless, this book is finally back in print. I know a lot of people have been asking for it, so go get it while you still can. That's it for me, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.